All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to our Wednesday webinar series. I'm Garrett Anderson, the Marketing Director for Contract Furnishings Mart. We are in Hillsboro today talking about laminate flooring, and backed by popular demand, our good friend Will McHarness.
Hey, everybody.
With PacMat. So let's just dive right in. What is laminate flooring?
Laminate flooring, well, to start at the beginning of the story, laminate flooring was introduced as one of the simplest technologies in flooring. Very easy to install even for the average person, and very, very affordable for the overall durability.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the construction here. So basically we have an HDF core, an HD printed image covered with like a plastic sheeting, and then most of these now have a foam core attached.
Yeah, rubberized,
back, right?
reinforced pad, correct, for sound absorbency. So the HDF, high density fiber board, which is basically sawdust with the resin that they mix it with, crush it, cook it, and create the board itself. Mm-hmm. And then they take just a digital image, which, as we all know, digital imaging has come so far these days. Right. It just looks so gorgeous. And then they cover it with a melamine wear layer, and then they bake an aluminum oxide wear layer over that as well.
Okay, and that's just extra scratch and scuff resistance right there, right?
Superior dent resistance, yeah. So you have the look of a real hardwood. It's hard, and it sounds like a real hardwood when you're walking on it, but it does not ding, dent, or scratch nearly as easy as the real thing. So you have unnatural durability to it, yeah.
Not to say that it couldn't if you really tried, but naturally, inherently, it's a lot better with those scuffs and scratches.
Yeah, very much so. Absolutely.
Because this core actually, although it's basically that dust that you mentioned and glue pressed all together, that's really, really hard and impact resistant.
That's correct, yeah, and we actually are mixing it with resins now that make it hydrophobic, which is water resistant. You know, I think back in the day, laminate kind of got a bad name because water was the Achilles heel. Water ruined a lot of floors out there. So in comes LVT. Everybody kind of moves that direction, which is great. We sell a lot of LVT as well. But laminate, the technology has advanced so much to where it makes more sense now than ever before. It does have a superior wear surface. And yes, it can ding, dent, and scratch, but it does not ding, dent, and scratch nearly as much as the average flooring that's out there, really.
Right. And another pro to this, we'll talk about the water resistance here in a little bit, but the ease of installation. Super simple. These are all just floating options together, right?
Yeah. In the case of the Calypso that you're handling there, it's what they call a drop block. So you just line up the long side, drop it down, give the end a tap with a rubber mallet, grab the next piece.
Literally, this is all you're doing. I can do that.
That's right.
That's how easy it is.
So it's perfect for newlyweds, first-time home buyers, people on a budget, you know, people that just need to do a quick little remodel on the weekend. I've done that before. And now that they have the water-resistant, waterproof qualities to them, you could put it in a kitchen. You could put it right up against a dishwasher. You could put it in a bathroom, mount a toilet on it, put it up against the bathtub.
No kidding.
It was unheard of before in the laminate category. Wow. Now we encourage you to do it. It's great.
Right, yeah, because traditionally you'd put it in your basement or your kids' play area or maybe a rental, all these areas where you expect it to take a beating and still perform well, or areas that you don't want to spend too much money investing in your floor, right?
Yeah, no, that's very true. It just used to be for a single room type of an application, and then for most floating floors, meaning click together, not actually adhered, you would need to put a transition piece at every single doorway, and you don't have to do that anymore now. The technology is such to where you can run these floors upwards of 4,000 square feet with no transitions whatsoever through your house, giving it that real hardwood look.
What has changed to create that? Just the dimensional stability of the board?
Correct, yeah, the overall dimensional stability of it. Some of them don't even necessarily require acclimation. I would check with your sales professional, yeah, the overall dimensional stability of it means that it isn't going to move quite as much. Not to get down into the weeds of the installation, but you do want to leave an expansion gap because all floating floors can move a little bit over time, so you want, even your house can settle.
I was going to say, yeah, even the walls of your house can move a little bit. Yeah. So you have to account for that movement.
No, but now you can bring it right in through the living room, into the kitchen, down the hallway, etc. Run it through the whole house.
Yeah, because we've seen some of those projects where it's just net fitted to the wall, and then something moves, either the flooring or the wall, and then you start to see these
starts to buckle up a little bit. Yeah, exactly. It's going to give you the telltale signs and lead you right to that problem where it's at.
So you mentioned some transition strips, and these are some LVT transitions, but for the laminate, they look just the same.
In layman's terms, that's pretty much what you're getting.
All it is. So basically, you talked about like a T-mold, which is a common one, maybe in a doorway or when you have like a change of direction or something.
Correct.
This covers over top of this, so you have a gap that allows the expansion contraction of the floor that you can't see because it's underneath this lip.
That's correct. And every laminate floor that we sell has coordinating trim. So it's made out of the exact same paper. So it would just be like having a threshold or a stair nose made out of real hardwood at your house, for example.
Right. And good to know that they're designed to coordinate. They're not going to potentially be perfect matches, but using the same papers, they should be spot on.
Yeah, well, just like a tree, with different, you see color variation in wood as well, so you're going to see a little color variation in laminate because it looks like wood.
So just kind of keep that in mind. I mean, you can obviously adjust which planks are going down so that they coordinate a little bit better. You don't have the black, white, black, really sharp contrast if you didn't want it.
Correct, yeah, because all manufacturers' recommendations say to cull through 3 or 4 boxes. You go, in other words, open up 3 or 4 boxes and kind of shuffle them up like a deck of cards out on the floor, just like you would with a regular hardwood install as well. And that way you get all that fun variation in there as well.
What about pattern repeats? Because we're looking at a synthetic material, man-made, and this is an HD print. How far has that technology really come before we start to see the same pattern, the same knot in that flooring?
That is a great question, actually. Not all laminate floors are created equal. So if you buy one at maybe a liquidator that's nearby in the neighborhood or something along those lines, and it might carry a wonderful price point, but you might also get the exact same board that just repeats over and over and over again. So the trained eye, when you walk in the room, you're going to see the same knot on every single board. Whereas with a quality laminate floor, nowadays you probably get 6 different boards, and then a lot of times they'll reverse the pattern as well. So they'll print 6, turn it around, print 6 more. So as you mix through, you've got upwards of 12 to more boards before you ever see a repeat.
Right. So you might see the same knot, but it's oriented a different way, a different part of the board to break it up a little bit.
Again, which mimics real hardwood flooring as well. Because when you'll see some hardwoods, you might see some pieces that were cut out of the same tree. It's not uncommon. So.
It's true. Let's talk a little bit more about how we made these waterproof. So get it in away from just the dry areas, but into potentially wet areas and have it still perform.
Correct. We start with a core that's made from a pulp that is hydrophobic. So in other words, scared of water or water resistant. And then they crush it and cook it under heat and pressure. And then they come back and they coat the edges with a water resistant solution, which is basically a wax-based solution. They let it completely air dry. They do not kiln dry it or cook it in any way. They let it air dry so that it can completely soak in. Then they make a second pass. And then upwards of that as well, it has to do with the locking mechanism. As far as the Calypso and the Audacity that we're referring to here, they have a 5-point locking mechanism. So if water should compromise the very first point of contact, it's not going to necessarily get around the corner to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or the 5th before it actually touches the subfloor.
Interesting.
So it keeps water out. So these carry a 72-hour puddle warranty. And so in layman's terms, if you were to dump a glass of water on the floor, leave it there for 3 days, it's safe to say that it would evaporate before it would ever actually do any damage to your floor. So if your floor were to be remaining submerged in anything for more than 3 days, it's probably an insurance claim or a busted pipe or something catastrophic like that.
Floods are a totally different category on their own, right? Generally, you're not just going to have concerns with the flooring being damaged, but you're going to have walls and subfloors and everything else associated with it.
Realistically, as parents, it's probably going to be teenagers or pets or our loved ones, and it's not going to hurt these. We have absolutely no claims in the marketplace today because of any moisture, ice cubes, glasses, dog water bowls, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's just.
Do you need to do anything around the perimeter to help with any water that might seep in from there that doesn't have the 5-point contact?
That's another installation-based question. Thank you, because in a water hazard area where, let's say, your dishwasher is, or let's say it's in that bathroom where the toilet is there, before you hang your wall base, you're going to have that expansion gap. Run a bead or 2 of silicone, because silicone is pliable. It's going to allow the floor to still expand and contract, but it just keeps water from actually getting to the wall and then getting down underneath your floor, let alone your sheetrock and all the other issues that could come with that. It's not going to hurt the floor, though.
Very cool. All right, let's talk about some trends. So, what I've seen is just like similarly with LVT, we're producing things that are following the trends seen in natural hardwood or just what the general public is looking for, right? So what have you seen?
We've seen the planks tend to go wider and wider and wider. For the longest time, it's not uncommon to see a 7 or maybe even an 8-inch wide plank, which is pretty long, or wide rather, and then longer up to 60, sometimes 72, but most of the time about 60 inches. The average laminate floor used to be 6 inches wide by 36 inches long in the Pergo days, I guess you could say. But now they're making them wider. Yeah, exactly. They're making them longer. You used to have to glue them. It was a pain. But Now, yeah, the wider and the longer, now you're seeing random planks. People kind of like that really random look on the floor, so you might have 3 different widths that you all mix together. Sometimes people mix a couple different colors together to get a really dramatic effect.
Really?
Make sure you use the exact same brand when you're doing that, of course.
Right, so yeah, they're actually going to lock together properly.
Yeah, and then trends go full circle. Now some of the planks are going narrower and narrower as well. If you can see this is approximately a 4-inch wide plank there, and people, some people just want to see more variation. They want more of a dramatic effect instead of what I would call a monochromatic look where all the boards basically match. Some of the boards are very dramatic and actually show a lot more variation. There you go. Yeah, I would call that a barnwood. It looks like a reclaimed barnwood, which is one of the trends that we see in hardwood today. People love upcycling, so taking something that was once used for something else and creating something beautiful and new out of it. And again, this is just a digital image of real barnwood that they've actually printed on a laminate floor. And
this showcases the multiple widths as well?
Yeah, correct. So you're going to have a very dramatic scene on this floor when it's all installed. Here, I'll flip it around. Gives you a little room scene here as well. So when looking at that, not everybody's going to want a floor with that much flavor and that much color and whatnot, but I think it's safe to say we've got something for everybody.
No kidding. Yeah, and I've seen people even use these, especially those really dramatic ones, as like a wall feature.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can put laminate on the walls.
Yeah. So are there any limitations or downsides to only being able to click and float this floor?
No, you can put it on, above, or below grade. You probably wouldn't want to put it on a sun porch or somewhere that's not actually heated. You want it indoors at a relative humidity level. But other than that, you can put it in any room in the house, respectively.
And can you put this over radiant heat?
That's a great question. Yes, not to exceed approximately 80 degrees. And I would encourage you to read whatever instructions. All of these different floors have their own websites, so definitely scrutinize the instructions on that. But what you don't want to do is dramatically change the room. So with radiant heat, a lot of times they have a programmable thermostat. So I would set your room to a comfortable 68 to 72 degrees and just leave it alone, and your floor is going to be just fine. The only time, any floor really, not to just pick on laminate, if you walk into a freezing cold vacation cabin and decide you're going to crank it up to 80 degrees, a lot of change happens within maybe 30 minutes or something like that. So I wouldn't recommend it for that application, but programmable is great.
Consistency is generally a little bit better for this.
And as we sell radiant heat, as I'm sure you know as well, we always recommend the programmable thermostat anyways, because you just set it and forget it, as they say.
Right. Okay, so anywhere else you would recommend laminate over, say, an LVT? Because I feel like those are what's compared most of the time now. Obviously, LVT is a huge trend that we've seen.
We sell a lot of LVT. Please feel free to keep buying LVT. That's great.
But where would laminate be a better idea?
I would put laminate. I would put laminate up against most LVTs nowadays. Again, when LVT came on the scene, it did a lot of things the laminate couldn't do. It was just so durable, and it had great big visuals, and you could really. It has a softer wear layer to it. That's not always a bad thing, but you can really stamp a heavy emboss, or you could really stamp a nice wood grain that actually matches the visual into it and whatnot. But now all of the laminate does that as well. And then laminate, rather than measuring the wear layer in mils as you would measure LVT in mils of urethane, laminate is an AC rating. So AC would be abrasion classification. So without getting into the next hour worth of that, they basically spin a wheel on it to see how many revolutions before you bust through the finish, and the floor would fail at that point. And so most laminates that you're going to find on the market today are an AC3, which means that you can do 2,000 revolutions before it busts through. But going from an AC3 to AC4 is almost like the Richter scale, because going from an AC3 with 2,000, AC4 is 4,000. So you literally get double the wear layer on an AC4, which is most of what we're actually showing here today is an AC4 product. And so that's a heavy commercial classification. So
that's the jump from AC3 to AC4 when you start getting into commercial?
Yeah, AC3 is great for light commercial, maybe a lobby or something along those lines, and normal residential household use. When you go into AC4, it means it's going to withstand all of your kids, all their friends, and all your pets, and all that kind of stuff. Let alone you could put it in a diner or a coffee shop or anything along those lines.
And it goes to AC5?
It goes to AC5. There isn't currently an AC5 on the market today. I'm sure somebody will let me know if I missed that, but I do not believe that we currently offer an AC5 right now. But AC5 is as durable as it gets. That's upwards of 6,000 revolutions.
Wow.
Yeah, so AC3...
Probably overkill, even.
Exactly, yeah. AC4 is fine. Everything that we have right now is out there doing its job. We don't get phone calls saying it's not performing. So
very cool. Well, I guess in general, I think we touched on most of the stuff, and we talked about some of the trends they're following, the natural hardwoods that we see. Lighter tones, there's still some rustics, some embossing, but generally cleaner overall, and some lighter tones, wider, longer planks. Great for those active households.
Very much so.
Potentially wet areas now too, and it's some commercial applications as well. Plus hitting a great price point. So I guess if what you're looking for is in that criteria, then laminate still is a great option.
Very much so, yeah. And again, just ask your salesperson. Not all laminates are created equal, but everybody is very familiar with the AC3 and the AC4 and the water-resistant ones. I would buy those any day of the week. And up against an LVT application, absolutely. So now you have a whole other category to look at with great colors and textures and whatnot. So
what about like formaldehyde? Any like glues or anything concerns with these, or you see something specific brands or
I've
from
seen
areas?
Yeah, I've seen an expose online and on television because again, not all floors are created equal. Not all stores are created equal, honestly. So do business with reputable people. A lot of times, if you buy from a CFM is wonderful. Your friends at PacMat as well. Anything that says liquidator, ask yourself what's wrong with it, because that's why it's being liquidated. Not all floors are created equal. So all of our floors that we sell, and I would say honestly, all my friendly brothers and sisters in competition, everything meets and exceeds all California clean air requirements. In layman's terms, you could install it, play with your newborn baby on it the very same day. Absolutely no problems, and we have documentation to support that.
Awesome. All right, well, that's great to hear. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out either on this, on our social media, or at any of our locations now. Next week, tune in. We're taking this on the road, actually. We're going to go down to Independence, Oregon, to the Medallion Cabinetry Factory. We're going to get a sneak peek of how this stuff is actually made and their quality controls, and they're very gracious to host us over there. So
we
tune
have
in next week.
cabinets going in my house as we speak. So
they are great in our house as well.
I'll make sure I turn into it.
Please do. Well, thanks again for joining us, Will.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll talk to you all very soon.
Thanks, everybody.